Welcome everybody to the B-Link Vibe session. I am seeing participants streaming in, and so we are actually going to wait until we are close to the number that have subscribed to this Vibe session, which will be online today rather than in person. So if you give us, people are still coming in, so I will actually wait for a little while longer, give it another 1 minute for people to come in. Cool. I think what we'll do is we'll start, and if more people come in, then probably the only thing they're going to miss is my introduction, which is way less important than what our speaker is actually going to tell us today. So I'm going to share my screen at the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today in the Vibe this series and the first event of the new year. So although it's almost February, it seems really funny to say Happy New Year to everybody, but at least I hope that 2022 will bring us a lot of joy, and hopefully this first session will actually help with that, because we're actually going to talk about sustainability and how Lincoln University is actually leading the way in sustainability. But before we actually go into that, a couple of housekeeping rules. And for those of you who do not know B-Link Innovation, I will tell you very briefly what we're doing. We are part of Lincoln University, so we are a full business unit of Lincoln University, and we basically do three things. We like to connect people, and this is one of the ways that we're doing that by actually organizing events. And by connecting people, we hope that these people will actually start to talk to each other, and then they will discover that they could collaborate. And of course, when people start to collaborate, then innovation is a logical next step. Next to organizing events, we also have a co-working space, and we have event space that businesses, entrepreneurs, and startups can actually use. The important stuff, well, I hope that you guys know where your emergency exit is, and I hope where your toilets are, because that's what I normally say when we are actually here at the Blink workshop space at Lincoln University campus. We are a social beast, so please do get social with us, and follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on Facebook. We will be more than happy to communicate with you. Now, the most important thing is actually introducing me to your speaker for this afternoon. Professor Grant Edwards is the brand new Vice Chancellor of Lincoln University. Although he is not new to Lincoln University, he has been around for a long time in various positions. Let me say, from student to Vice Chancellor, I think Professor Grant Edwards has seen it all. But more importantly, in context to this presentation that he's going to give us, he is also the chairperson of the Lincoln University Sustainability Task Force. So he is actually leading the sustainability path of Lincoln University. So without further ado, I will give the floor to Professor Grant Edwards, and what I'll do is I'll start his slideshow as well.
And welcome here this afternoon. It's good to be talking about the university and about our sustainability plan. Sustainability is something that I personally are passionate about, and it's something that and it's a portfolio that I've kept in my role as Vice Chancellor. I was intimately involved in the establishment of the Lincoln University Sustainability Plan and how that played out. And I through that, I saw the very strong role that Link University was playing as an exemplar of sustainability on its campus, but more so the role it played in giving key principles and practices for sustainability, both nationally and globally. And so that is why I was very keen to continue in the role as chair of the Sustainability Task Force at Link University, going into my current role as Vice Chancellor. So what I'm going to endeavour to do today is to talk about our sustainability plan, talk about where it's come from, how it originated. But perhaps, first of all, I'd just like to give it a little bit of context of the university, first of all, so that we can fit that within the context of where the sustainability plan sits. So Vim, if you could have the next slide, please. Is that moving? Thank you. So just a little bit about who we are for those online. Many of you know who we are, but it's worth reinforcing this, and it emphasizes the importance of where we are around sustainability or there also. So Link University exists to facilitate excellent research and education and grow the knowledge of our students and help shape a world that benefits from an understanding of the relationships between land, food and ecosystems. We are a specialist land-based university, and that means we're quite unique in our status, both within New Zealand and globally, that we specialise in issues related to the land. Those important things of agriculture, horticulture, agribusiness, tourism, conservation. And so that defines what we're about and often where we talk about sustainability also. Our current population of students is just under 3,500 students. We have about 12% of those students, so nearly 400 of those students are in asynchronous online. So that means they don't touch the Link University campus, they're not present on the campus. Those students, they're set in terms of full-time equivalent students, that's about 2,500 full-time equivalent students. It's a student that's doing 8 courses per year. We're made up of just over 600 staff in our permanent staff and fixed-term staff, but we also have an additional, probably nearly over 200 casual staff that contribute to the university in addition. And we're set within, at Lincoln, a 58-hectare campus, which involves our campus buildings and a small amount of surrounding farmland. So it's nestled in the area around Ellesmere Junction Road, and increasingly becoming surrounded by reasonably high density housing and business developments on both sides, and on the other side on farmland. In addition to our campus environment, we have another 8 farms spread across Canterbury and down into central Otago, which actually have a further 447 hectare of farmland surrounding the campus. Okay, so that's a little bit about who we are. Where we're going in terms of our number of students, and this does impact on things when we talk of sustainability. Look, at my goal and my time as Vice Chancellor is to raise our number of full-time equivalent students from at least the 2,500 it sits at this point in time to around 3,500 students, full-time equivalents. That means that we might have another, and easy to have another 1,000 students around the Lincoln campus environment, and associated increase in the number of staff also. It gives a perspective of where we're heading. Can I have that next slide? Yeah. In terms of what we do, we are very much about the land-based sector. And just an example of this is given in the types of courses which are very much in the areas of specialisation which comes from Lincoln. And you see the list there, which ranges from the key sectors of agriculture and horticulture and agribusiness and the environment, right down to tourism, but with some important ones in the middle there also around property and planning, science, basic science, and also in sport and recreation. Importantly, as a specialist land-based university focuses on that connection between land, people, and ecosystems. That defines very much about how we talk about sustainability and the things that we find really important here on campus in our sustainability plan. And what I'd like to do now is talk a little bit about our journey of how we got to our sustainability plan at the university. About 3 years ago, we had a class of students in the environmental society and design faculty actually set forth and produced their own sustainability plan for the university. Essentially, a series of actions that they would like to see come out of it. In somewhat an embarrassing state, our senior management at that point in time realized that we weren't well advanced in our sustainability strategy for the university, and that the students were actually leading the way for us in the key actions that the university should be taking as an exemplar of sustainability, and how we could actually approach and basically education and research around sustainability. Out of that excellent work that was done by that set of students came the Vice Chancellor's Sustainability Task Force, which was put in place. And this was there to initiate a sustainability plan for the university, and essentially develop a series of actions which were directed towards what we could do here at Lincoln to contribute to sustainability. There was a pathway of extensive set of consultation with both staff and students at the university and the wider community about how we could frame our actions around sustainability here at the university. And I guess from that, there were two themes that emerged for what we would really like to do at the university. One around our university being an exemplar of sustainable practices, whether that in carbon emissions, in energy and the use of the energy, in water or biodiversity. So that's about our campus, and that's about how we look and how we perform as a campus as a whole. The second action was around how our leading education and research and demonstration could contribute to the really important issues of sustainability, both nationally and globally. And for us at Lincoln University, being strongly connected to the land-based sector, those are the issues of those sector. They're the issues associated with climate change adaptation, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, reducing minimizing the impact of agriculture on our water quality, using water effectively, but doing it in a sustainable manner that allowed our essentially our farming systems to continue to thrive from a financial and prosperity point of view. With that in mind, we came up with a sustainability strategy. And Vim, if you could just flick to the next slide, please. In terms of our sustainability plan, we came up with a vision that Lincoln University is committed to being an exemplar of sustainable practice for the land-based sector and the ecosystems within it. And the purpose of what we thought was to be sustainability leaders in education and research by a demonstration of sustainability impacts on the sectors that we support. So basically it came down to two goals that became very important in our sustainability plan. One, which was about becoming sector leaders in education, research, and demonstration of sustainability. So through the quality of the graduates that we produce, how we educate them, their teaching and learning, through the quality of the research that we do, and through demonstration, we would address the very important issues of sustainability for the land-based sector. And that would be a significant contribution that we could be making. So we have to be very outstanding at that. The second goal was largely around our campus, which was to become carbon neutral by 2030 and carbon zero by 2050. Focusing on 2030, possibly doing that through mitigation, but by carbon zero by 2050, really focusing on a substantial reduction in emissions. And in terms of what we do, we concentrate on 4 particular themes. What we can do around sustainability in education, research, demonstration, particularly on-farm demonstration, and what we do in our campus environment. So just to reiterate, so we had an iterative process in developing this plan and actually building towards the key things that we could have 2 goals. One about being outstanding at how we do education, research, and demonstration of sustainability. And one about having a goal of being a campus, being an exemplar of sustainability, particularly around carbon neutrality and carbon emissions. Okay, Fern, can I have the next one, which I'm going to spend quite a bit of time on, and just through pictures, try to highlight some of the key things that we are doing here at Lincoln. So very much about what we are trying to do now in our sustainability plan is putting our plans into action. So it's, and in the key areas of research, education, demonstration, and some of the aspects around our campus environment, in particular in energy, water, green infrastructure, mobility, and waste. Okay. And what we'll endeavour to do here is just to outline some of the initiatives in each of those areas. And I'll probably finish the presentation at that point and then open up for questions as sort of a way of actually introducing it. I'm going to start over on the right-hand side of the diagram, which is around energy and what we're doing in that particular space. And this is largely, energy is largely related to carbon emissions. We've recently completed a carbon audit for the university, and that would show that we have a total emissions of around 8,500 tonnes of CO2 equivalents. The biggest emitter that we have is our coal boiler, which you can see in the central picture there, at about 4,500 CO2 equivalents. What we're working on currently is decommissioning of the coal boiler by about 2023. That is a major task for us because it involves not only getting off the coal boiler, which is in line with policy, but also providing a range of diversified energy sources and new infrastructure across our campus to cater for that. Essentially, we're moving from the coal-fired and steam generation system for our heating to one that is basically going to a renewable energy source. And that is a major program that we're working on with additionality of ECA funding. Some of the key features we're looking at that is the development of solar as part of the campus development. We've embarked heavily on demonstration of basically putting PV panels on many of the roofs and north-facing buildings, north-facing sides of buildings on campus. And we have plans for a large solar farm associated with the university to greatly increase our own supply of renewable energy generated within the university. But there are many other things that we really have to do around energy generation on campus as well. And these are some of the simple things we're doing, including space utilization reviews, building efficiency improvements, right-sizing our building program according to a master plan or actually requirements. We'll probably find that Lincoln University actually has too many buildings. So we're looking at removing poor and aged surplus stock and looking at essentially lighting across campus and installation of LED. Those are just some initiatives around that, but the primary one that is focused on at the moment is getting off the coal boiler and moving to renewable energy with a strong focus on solar energy demonstration. In terms of other aspects around a campus coming down the side of the diagram, on the right-hand side of the diagram, we have issues around water and biodiversity. So for those that are associated with Lincoln and have been here recently, we have major building programs taking place, which presents us with an opportunity to essentially to demolish old buildings, but also to look at opportunities around water retention pond solutions for water and biodiversity on campus. And they're a very key part of where we're actually progressing around that. In terms of waste, we have targets around reducing our waste by 75% And in conjunction with that, just getting rid on campus of all plastic packaging in a short space of time. In terms of mobility, changing the university fleet to 100% electrified, zero carbon within, just to get my time, basically within the next 2 years from memory. So really progressing that very quickly. That's exciting around campus. The big thing around campus, which becomes our curly issue, is our transport. Now, of our carbon emissions of the 8,500 kilograms, nearly 3,000 of those carbon emissions are associated with the transport to the university. So that's a measure of staff and students travelling to and fro from campus, and our students and staff travelling across the country on business associated with research and education. Size of that, and just for some numbers in terms of relevance, and I talk about this a little bit in terms of relevance, is that if we're saying that might be around the 2,500 tonnes of CO2 emissions associated with transit, that's about the same number of emissions that comes out of one of our dairy farms here at Link University. But it is the really important area that we need to reduce. That's a challenging one for us here at the university, because although we do have extensive accommodation on campus with about 500 students about to occupy our accommodation, a lot of our students live in Canterbury, increasingly living in places such as Rolleston, and that means that there is travel requirements for those students. So transport will become a key issue for us here at the university, and how to deal with it from a sustainability point of view. So some of the aspects including that we're progressing include the carbon offsets on university air travel, increase in digital-enabled technologies for our meetings and conferences, increasing carpooling and providing opportunities for carpooling that doesn't exist, getting our fleet, as we said before, to 100% zero carbon, and working hard at our car parks. Okay, we need car parks because we're out of town, but also those car parks create sites for the transport environment. So looking at voluntary car parking charges, encouraging the use of electrical vehicles in our car parks. We do have to look really closely at transport to Link University of our staff and students, particularly from areas such as Riccarton and Christchurch. And today I had a very interesting conversation with the Selwyn District Council and the council members around these very issues of how we actually could be looking to promote better transport linkages for our students and staff to come to Lincoln, greatly reducing our emissions, but providing also great student experiences. Okay. Some of the other areas other than campus development, which are really important for us in terms of sustainability at the moment, is how we conduct research and education and demonstration. Okay. Speaking about education, it's one of the things that is important to me, is that our students are often well versed in principles of sustainability, whether they be financial, environment, cultural sustainability. Where we're actually attempting to move to at the university is making sustainability a key graduate attribute. When we actually think of graduate attributes, we often think of them in terms of things like employability, innovation, and that they have an understanding of some core disciplines. Well, sustainability is one of those core competencies that we in the future expect every Link University graduate to have an understanding of. And so we're about to embark on a reasonably large piece of work, which is looking at the university graduate attribute profile, creating a single graduate attributes, which includes sustainability, which includes other aspects such as innovation and biocultural competency with it. What it means is that we can actually put a great value on the quality of the graduates that are coming out of Link University and ensure that they are well versed in the principles of sustainability across across the sectors that they support. So that's in education. In research, we do great research directed towards sustainability in the land-based sector. And we also do great demonstration. Some of the recent work that has been produced by the likes of Keith Cameron and Hong Di in particular about mitigation strategies for reducing methane emissions from effluent ponds has been substantial and is highly regarded in that context. Equally, the work that we do here from the likes of Richard McDowell and Leo Condron, which is focused on phosphorus runoff, the extensive set of work that has been carried out on farms around reducing nitrogen losses, is really important work around sustainability on farms, and we will continue to do so. One of the actions that we are undertaking as part of the sustainability plan is to highlight that to a greater degree, using case study approaches to be able to progress that to a future level. The other area that we're really keen to progress is around demonstration of sustainability. You'll be aware, many of you, that we've had our farms are central to that, such as the Lincoln University Dairy Demonstration Farm, which has for the past 2 decades been one of the shining lights in demonstration of sustainable practices in dairy farming, both from a financial point of view, but also from an environmental point of view. That will continue, and we're also looking to branch out into other areas, such as an energy crop farm, which actually incorporates the principle of basically energy generation and crop production, and means conducted simultaneously on the same farms as a key area to approach going ahead. What I'll probably do now is I'm more than happy to, having indicated where we're heading around our plan as being an exemplar of sustainability and what we do on campus and what we're trying to do in research. I think it's probably appropriate that I'll pause there and provide an opportunity for questions to be taken.
Thank you very much, Grant. I'll stop the share so that people can actually see us. And I do want to tell all the participants that are actually in this webinar, there is a Q&A button on the bottom of your screen, and that actually says Q&A. And if you type in your question, then what I will do is I will actually give it to Grant so that Grant can actually answer it, and Grant can actually see the questions as well. Question 1, Grant, can you define, and this is a question from Simon from Assure Quality, can you define what you mean by carbon neutral, your 2030 goal, versus the carbon zero, your 2050 goal?
Okay, it's an interesting question. And we're using it in carbon neutrality to basically say that it's something that we might be able to achieve through an offsetting mechanism, but using the carbon zero by 2050 to be suggestive of a direction to travel to basically get to zero through a total reduction in emissions. So that is how we are addressing it in that sort of that direction of travel. We appreciate there is some complexities around that and how it is defined, but that is the version that we're using and how we're approaching that.
Thank you very much, Grant. And I'll stay within the same context of the question. There is a question coming in from somebody that I don't have the name of. Basically, how will you deal with the challenge of the cost of becoming carbon zero?
Okay, yeah. So the cost of becoming carbon zero, so if we look, we can do it through offsetting, through the same mechanisms of everyone else. So if there is an offset required, our key principle that we are operating here is to identify to reduce emissions as much as possible. There is a cost associated to becoming carbon zero. For example, getting off a coal boiler, getting off and adds a massive investment in electrification through solar panels. We are addressing that through a range of capital investment options, including support from the government through the Eco Fund for that, as well as our own capital investment to ensure that that is the case. In the end, once we've actually run through all those options around reducing basically initiatives essentially to reduce carbon emissions, there may be some offset left at the end then, and we'll have to grapple with that. We will look at options that might be associated with essentially planting trees, essentially, to be able to do that. Whether we do that on our own land or others' land is a question that we haven't actually provided an answer for yet. I would say, however, that it isn't like there is a cost associated with it, but the benefits of the university and being able to demonstrate that that we can actually do it in many cases outweigh some of those costs. We will engage in these activities because it's simply the right thing to do.
Thank you very much, Grant. There are a couple of questions in the student space, and I will actually again try to combine them. Tina is asking, are there any plans to extend the current fee waiver for the environmental studies beyond July 2022?
Obviously, it would be a good question. We will be looking at that over this coming year, 2022, and providing an update about the middle of this year on the fee waiver. The fee waiver has been an outstanding mechanism for getting domestic students to come into academic programs at postgraduate level within the university. Particularly those in relation to the environment and policy and planning. And we have to look closely about the success of that mechanism relative to the cost of actually doing so. But it is something that is on the agenda for this year.
Thank you very much, Grant. There is another question here coming from Dan, and I think that is basically looking at the synergies that are possible within Lincoln University to approach things multidisciplinary. This question is, the School of Landscape Architecture is currently very focused on urban design and planning. With such a big need for addressing rural landscape to improve the outcomes for biodiversity and fresh water, to name a few, have you considered the potential for greater links between the School of Landscape Architecture and agriculture? Could this potentially benefit the university by appealing to a wider range of prospective students?
I think the School of Landscape Architecture at Lincoln University plays an important role in both urban and rural communities, and will continue to do so, both in the rural community, which is in the productive, and in the conservation state. It will be important. Some of the initiatives that exist currently within the university to promote this, including a centre of excellence that we have internally funded by the university, which is about designing future productive landscapes, which actually looks at some of these overlays between the productive farming landscape, plus also the more traditional landscape perspective in designing landscapes that fit a multiple of uses. I think it is important consideration that you raised there of how our traditional disciplines and the orientation of those disciplines now have great value across sectors and moving from the urban to the agricultural rural divide. It will become increasingly important as we grapple with what we're actually concerned with here at the university also, which is the connection between rural and urban and the interface between the two. And even around the Lincoln Township, we do find that as the township is expanding, with increased number of housing developments and business developments, and how that and the importance of landscape architecture and providing those really effective transitions between those various zones.
Thank you very much, Grant. And I think building on that, Roger is asking the question, do you see scope to build your great initiative through collaboration with other organizations in and around the Lincoln area?
We do. So part of the Lincoln University strategy is a shaping strategy, which is essentially looking very close at partnership and collaboration, and looking for a perspective where outside organisations see Lincoln University as a place on which they would succeed and a platform to do so. We have already have very strong close relationships at the university, for example, with the Crown Research Institute partners, and close by with Canterbury University. That's come together more so from in particular from a research point of view and leading on that. I think the time is now right is to draw some of those principles together more so from a sustainability point of view, and including involving the wider community, the Selwyn district, and how that comes together and how we promote good principles of sustainability, whether those be associated with financial, business sustainability, environmental, ecological, but also into aspects of cultural sustainability, which is around our community. So good opportunities to do so.
Thank you very much, Grant. Murray is asking a question: what does a sustainability attribute, and then between accolades, student coming out of Lincoln look like in your mind, in terms of the knowledge of research fundamentals of biological systems from past to the current simplistic societal dialogue?
I think the person who wrote that question, I think it was Murray.
Yes,
actually
Murray,
Murray actually defined a view of a sustainability student at Lincoln very well. I think where I have a view of a sustainability student from Lincoln is one that knows sustainability in relation to the specialisation of the land-based sector in a key way. So someone that has an understanding of including environmental, societal, and cultural sustainability, and also has a key understanding of the environmental aspect. I guess I put in the box of something which we need to define a little bit quicker, is that our students know sustainability is kind of what it's about, and then knowing sustainability. So if an employer was looking at a student coming out of Lincoln University, would want to be able to define some of the key attributes that they have around sustainability is the key thing there. We will work through that process as we develop a single graduate attribute approach at university to exactly what are the things that are important for sustainability for our students and how they come from different parts of both the curriculum, from the activities in the community, both in particular.
Thank you very much, Grant. Another question. What are the success criteria of the sustainability plan and how are they measured and tracked? Okay, so we have we established the Vice Chancellor's task force, which I lead as for the sustainability plan. It has an extensive sustainability action plan as part of it, which is a project plan, which we record against those milestones. If we're looking at the big ones, it's around the carbon neutrality in particular and tracking towards that. In particular, we look at our success by a series of actions along the way directed towards that. So, and some of the milestones. So getting off the coal boiler, putting in an offset on transport, case studies and showcasing them of our research, uptake of that research, and the impact of sustainability become the key metrics that we actually have here. So what we are looking at in terms of the success of the sustainability plan, which is currently under that scorecard is currently in development, is somewhat of a balanced scorecard, not set against a single measure. And we want that to reflect how we actually contribute in different ways to both education, research, and demonstration, and actually also how it contributes as a campus exemplar. In some cases, we may use how we perform in international rankings as a success of that. So we introduced into the green metric ranking, the Times Higher Education rankings on sustainability, which provides an opportunity for us to measure ourselves against other universities. In reality, we will measure the success of our sustainability in some cases by the uptake of the technologies that we produce and that our graduates are making change in the communities they support. Thank you very much, Grant. And I think something in line with this is we have talked very much about the the environmental impact and our journey towards a carbon neutral future. Question here about well-being of staff and students. Is that part of our sustainability plan as well?
It's a really good point. Not currently. And it's something that we have separate initiatives, which in the university around staff well-being and student well-being, including university requirements for students around the pastoral care codes. And we have an increased investment in their well-being. This has been raised as something in recently, and we would like to make those connections over the coming years between, I guess, personal well-being and sustainability and the wider spirit of well-being. It's a really important question around how these issues of staff and student well-being contribute into the overall issue of sustainability. Nonetheless, they are extremely important, and there is my guarantee that within the university they are being addressed, but they have been counted in the terms of sustainability within the sustainability plan at this point in time.
Thank you very much. A question here about our ambition of the sustainability plan and the sustainability goals of the university. Are they ambitious enough?
Look, I think our goals are actually extremely ambitious for what we are actually trying to achieve here, both around the campus in terms of reducing our emissions, and by 2030 we could bring that forward. We probably hope to do that much quicker, as an example. So they are ambitious in that sense. I think we need to reflect of that. In terms of our research and education, we are, and demonstration in particular, we're supporting farms and the farming sector in particular, which has some reasonably ambitious goals, such as reducing emissions on our dairy farms. It is likely that we may get to many of those goals quicker than actually the rest of the farming community. That is my aspiration to do so. So I think we are being aspirational in the sense here, but we're actually being carefully measured to actually say that we have some defined actions towards those.
Thank you very much. Energy farm.
Yeah.
Is that just about biofuels, or is it something else?
You could probably answer this one, Vim, but I will, because it's about a range of things, including biofuels, biodigesters. It's about energy generation through solar, but it's particularly about how that integrates with existing farm systems and new farming systems, including some diversified ones to provide a biocircular economy approach to our farming system. Have I done that okay, Vim?
Absolutely, because I think we here at Lincoln University, we do no longer think in waste. We think in basic waste as a pollutant. We think as waste as an ingredient for value. So we think the circular economy. Not biased at all when it comes to the energy farm. Interesting question from Jason. Is Lincoln currently involved in any research dealing with end of life of the technology that we will use to become carbon neutral? Solar panels, batteries. I could help as well if you need.
Yes, well, I guess you've emphasised a couple there. So our solar panels in our energy farm, we're interested in battery-based technology. And we're looking to partner with a range of businesses and other research providers who have some outstanding expertise in those areas to provide it. So we are, there's probably, Vim might be able to speak more widely from the point of view of the energy farm, but yeah, interested in a range of those technologies.
I think we are aware that end of life is an issue. Luckily, when it comes to, for example, solar panels, the life expectancy is 25 years, so we don't actually need to have that solution now. When it comes to battery storage, we made a very conscious decision not to go for lithium type batteries, but we go for supercapacitors, especially for that end of life issue. We are getting to the end of the questions. And I think there's a question still here from Roger looking at does our sustainability go beyond the environment social? I think we already, or you already mentioned, answered that in the area of the social well-being. I think the last question would be, it would be interesting to measure the handprint of Lincoln sustainability research and education. How much wider ag sector environmental impact is reduced directly due to the Lincoln Research Initiative and people? Lincoln has the potential to have so much bigger positive environmental impact than just its own internal carbon reductions.
That is the primary, it's a really good point, and that is the primary reason that our sustainability plan moves beyond the campus to very much focus on the research and education and the contribution that has been made to sustainability. We'd very like to work with anyone that's out there that has ideas around how to measure those substantive impacts of research and the quality of the graduates that you produce and the demonstration and how it creates change and important impacts on sustainability. So it's a really good point that is raised there. If I have a personal view is that our Lincoln University's contribution to sustainability through its research and education and to the wider community, both in New Zealand and internationally, probably outweighs what we will do around campus. In terms of things like campus, in terms of transport and getting off the coal boiler as an example. Yet both are very important to our people and students that we address both of those. But our impact will undoubtedly come from the quality of our research and the quality of the graduates that we produce around sustainability being in the right areas.
Well, thank you very much, Grant. I think that is a great point to actually stop the Q&A, and thank you very much for your contribution and sharing the vision of Lincoln University and actually to actually lead the way in sustainability beyond the campus and making sure that all our graduate and staff are actually going to be ambassadors to sustainability of the land-based sector. Grant Edwards, chairperson of the Lincoln University Sustainability Task Force, and our brand new Vice Chancellor. Grant, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Before we go, what I am going to do is I'm going to share the last slides with you to actually show you some of the upcoming events, and this is the next upcoming event is the 15th of February, where we're going to talk about food innovation in New Zealand, and we will have a guest speaker, John Morgan from Food South. So again, that will be a vibe event similar to this one, and due to the red light settings, we probably are doing that online as well. Then we have one of our innovation series coming ahead, and like Grant already said, we try to focus on the land-based sector. And can we actually grow fish on land? Can we actually have aquaculture as the way forward with an R? And that will be a virtual live stream event as well, and you are very welcome to join us there. Thank you very much from the whole team at Blink and Lincoln University, and I wish you a wonderful day. Thank you so much.